I raised a monster. I remember the rain the night Victor was born. It was heavy against the hospital windows in Cleveland, the kind that makes the world feel smaller and safer. I held him in my arms, and he didn't cry. He just stared at me. The nurse laughed softly. "You've got a calm one." Veronica smiled at me from the hospital bed, exhausted but glowing. "He's perfect, George." And I believed her. For years, I believed her. The first crack appeared when Victor was 5. Our neighbor's cat disappeared. A week later, I found Victor in the backyard, kneeling in the grass, unnaturally still. There was dirt under his fingernails. "Victor?" I called. He turned his head slowly, like I had interrupted something important. "It stopped moving," he said, calmly. When I saw what was in front of him, something inside me shifted in a way I can't explain. We buried the cat that night. Veronica cried the entire time. "He didn't understand what he was doing," she insisted. But I couldn't shake the look in his eyes. There was no confusion, no fear, no guilt, just curiosity. As he grew older, Victor became impressive. Teachers loved him. He said yes, ma'am, and no, sir. He held doors open. He smiled perfectly. But at home, he was different. When Veronica sliced her hand open while cooking, she screamed in pain. Victor stood in the doorway, watching. "Are you okay, Mom?" he asked, flatly, not worried, not scared, observing. When my mother died, Veronica sobbed for days. Victor came to the funeral in a neatly pressed suit and shook hands like a tiny politician. "I'm sorry for your loss," he repeated to relatives. That night, I heard him in his room whispering into a recorder. "I want to know what makes people panic," he said softly. "It's interesting." I stood outside his door, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would break my ribs. That was the first night I couldn't sleep. We took him to specialists, multiple evaluations, endless questions. One doctor finally sat us down. "There are strong indicators of callous, unemotional traits consistent with developing psychopathy," she said carefully. "He understands right and wrong, he just doesn't feel it." Veronica shook her head immediately. "You're labeling him." I couldn't even speak. On the drive home, she said, "They're wrong, George. He's just different." I wanted to believe her so badly it hurt, but I had seen the notebook under his mattress. Fear makes people predictable. Pain is information. Dad suspects me. I never told Veronica about that last line. I couldn't. When Victor was 13, a boy named Daniel accused him of pushing him down the stairs at school. Daniel survived, but barely. Victor claimed it was an accident. No cameras, no proof. In the principal's office, Veronica held Victor's hand tightly. "My son would never hurt anyone," she said firmly. Victor squeezed her hand back, not like a scared child, like someone sealing a pact. I looked at my son across that desk and realized something terrifying. He wasn't afraid of being punished. He was studying us. The real breaking point came when Victor was 16. A girl named Emily from his school disappeared after a study session. The town was frantic, search parties everywhere, posters on every telephone pole. Victor acted concerned. "Do you think they'll find her?" he asked me one evening, tilting his head slightly. There was something about the way he said it. 2 days later, police knocked on our door. They found evidence in Victor's locker, items that belonged to Emily, a bracelet, her phone. And then they searched his room. I will never forget Veronica's scream when they pulled out a small locked box from under his bed. Inside were trophies, pictures, personal belongings, notes, carefully labeled. My knees gave out. Victor didn't cry. He didn't panic. He just looked at us and smiled. At the station, Detective Harris leaned across the table. "Your son planned this," he said quietly. Veronica grabbed my arm. "They're forcing him to confess. They're twisting everything." Victor asked for a lawyer, calmly. As they led him away in handcuffs, he turned to Veronica and said, "You said you'd always protect me." She broke. "I will, baby, I will." But I couldn't speak, because for the first time I saw clearly. Every time Veronica defended him, every time she called it a misunderstanding, every time I doubted myself, we weren't protecting him. We were protecting ourselves from the truth. Victor was charged. The trial was brutal. Evidence after evidence, patterns, planning, manipulation. Experts testified about psychopathy, about charm without empathy, about calculated violence. Veronica sat beside me every day, clutching a tissue, whispering, "He's still our son." And she was right. That's what makes it unbearable. I love my son, even now, even knowing what he did. But love doesn't erase reality. The day the judge sentenced Victor, he didn't look at us. He looked at the courtroom like it was a puzzle he hadn't finished solving. As the doors closed behind him, Veronica collapsed into my arms. "I just wanted to save him," she sobbed. I held her, but my voice felt hollow when I answered. We should have faced him. Sometimes I lie awake at night replaying every moment. The cat, the stairs, the recorder, the notebook. And I ask myself the question that will haunt me for the rest of my life. If I had been braver, if I had stopped defending him sooner, if I had forced the truth into the light, would Emily still be alive? I don't know. All I know is this. I lost my son long before the police ever took him away. And the hardest part isn't that he was a monster. It's that he was my child. And I loved him anyway.